Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it. Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Yeah, tonight we're doing the Midnight Madness. All right, so today we're going to talk about, well, actually, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, so we're doing a Midnight Madness late show. Anybody out there, come on in. Let's talk some boxing. I'm going to be on here for about an hour or so. So we're going to talk about some, the latest news in boxing right now. Uh, as you all know, there's a lot of things happening in boxing right now. Okay, uh, of things going on right now. We have, let's just say, ever since the Errol Spence fight has been, the end of the Errol Spence fight and Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight, there's, been a seismic shift in the landscape of the boxing community. So there's a lot of things going on right now. As you know, there is some question about whether or not the rematch is going to be going down soon. Even though I heard today that supposedly Errol Spence activated the rematch. I gotta check that out to make sure that's actually a fact. You never know, but I've heard that's what's going on right now. So uh, we'll see how that play out. If that's an actuality or not. I should know about more about that by tomorrow sometime. But yeah, so supposedly Errol Spence is going to activate a rematch, and from what I'm hearing, I mean, if he's going to activate the rematch, if he actually did that, then that would mean the fight is going to happen in December. Which a lot of people was advising Errol Spence against that, but it looks like he's going to go ahead and do that. And I mean, you can't really blame him. I mean, after that type of a fight, he want to get, he want to go ahead and try to get his revenge. You got to give him some props for that because a lot of people would think twice about going back in there after that. What happened in the original fight, the first fight. So the fact that Errol Spence is brave back in there again with Crawford says a lot about the kind of person that he is. He's a stand-up guy. Looks like. He fell off the horse, and so now he's gonna jump right back on the horse and try to ride again. You gotta give him his props for that. You know, uh, that's that's typically that's what fighters do. Okay, so Errol Spence, is not just gonna let Crawford ride off into the sunset. As you all see, all the different accolades Crawford is getting now. Ever since he beat Errol Spence in that fight. So that's what's right now Crawford's on top of the world basically. Okay, and so everybody's talking about Crawford. I mean, he's everywhere. Very few people talking about Errol Spence right now. Even the Errol Spence fans, a lot of them are kind of concerned about Spence, and they don't want to see him, rematch Crawford anytime soon. Now, like a lot of these guys that are Errol Spence fans. I mean, I don't know if you want to call them the Errol Spence fan, the Errol, whatever you want to call them. I think people make a distinction between Spence fan and the Aerosexuals, and so you know. They never actually wanted to see the fight with Crawford in the first place. Okay, so that's basically what it comes down to. A lot of those guys were out there saying that Crawford didn't have a resume. He didn't really do anything to deserve a fight with Spence. He needs to go Kell Brook first and fight Crawford. I mean, fight Sean Porter first, which he did all of that, and then he can get a fight with Errol Spence. So a lot of people never really wanted to see that fight, especially Errol Spence fans. They never wanted to see the fight because I guess a lot of these people, regardless of the fact that they're fans of Spence, some of them probably knew what was going to happen, or kind of, was kind of guessing what would happen. As we all saw what happened. So I think a lot of them was worried about that, and it played out to the way they thought it would play out in terms of how the fight ended and what happened in the fight. So but again, you know, uh, like I said, a lot of people couldn't give their opinion about whether or not Errol Spence should take on this fight again. But it's up to him at the end of the day. And if he feels like he want to go back in there and give it a shot, then who are we to say, tell him no? I mean, that's his prerogative. So, more power to him. He's not shying away from this Crawford fight, and there's a possibility he could do a lot better in the next fight at a higher class. Now, I don't think he's going to win, but it's a possibility he could do better. But whether or not people want to see that, whether or not people want to go out, want to watch Spence with Crawford again right after the first fight, I'm not sure if that's what a lot of people want. I mean, a lot of Errol Spence fans don't want it, and even some of Crawford fans don't want it. But as for me, I mean, it's Errol Spence's prerogative. If he want to rematch, Crawford, let him go ahead and do that. I mean, that's his business. I give him props for that. I mean, because after that beating, want to go back on that horse again. Hey, you can't blame the guy. I mean, at the end of the day, he got balls, and it's not like Gary Russell who he was going to rematch Lomachenko and never did. And, he's calling out everybody at 126 pounds, never move an inch from 126 pounds, missed a lot of fights at 130, 135 pounds that he could have had if he actually moved up, but never did. But he's calling out people at welterweight and, he want to fight this guy, he want to fight that guy, he wanted to fight, all these guys he could have fought at 130 pounds. And Gary Russell, excuse me, never even moved an inch from 126 pounds. He stayed there the whole time. And now we hear Gary Russell talking about he want to go down in weight to fight that Japanese kid. Way. I mean, you know, Gary Russell is the only fighter who wants to move in weight to dare to be great. I mean, this guy is something else. So anyway, I saw an interview uh, with Gary Russell recently. Him talking about the fight with Crawford and Spence, and Gary Russell, hilarious man. I mean, this guy really hates Crawford, and he really, it must really burn him to see uh, you know, succeeding so much. I mean, you can not Gary must be uh, burned. He must be hot right now. I mean, everywhere you look, you see Crawford. Can you imagine what Gary Russell is thinking right now? Anyway, Gary Russell picked Spence to win the fight, and after the fight, he said, "Oh, something is wrong, and there was something wrong with Spence, and he might have a neurological disorder or some nonsense like that." I mean, we all know where he got that from. He picked it up off the internet. The so-called doctor was going around talking about, and then Gary picked it up and running with it. He said he saw something wrong with Spence before the fight. So if you saw something wrong with Spence before the fight, why didn't you say anything, Gary? I mean, what are you talking about? If you saw, but it's just Gary capping again, you know. And then he continued to repeat that old nonsense about, the interview asked him about him punching Crawford, and he started talking about how, uh, there's a rumor going around that he broke Terence Crawford's jaw. You don't know but he don't know who's spreading that rumor. But it was him that was spreading that rumor. I remember a couple of when he called out Terence Crawford a while back. He was the one that's saying that he broke Terrence's jaw. Now he's trying to say somebody else is saying that, but he's kind of cutting down because he don't want to say that too loud now. Then he's talking about, oh well, yeah, I would love to get in that fight with Crawford at a catchweight. Man, get out of here with that, Gary. You don't want no fight at no catchweight. You never left 126 pounds, bro. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities at 130. You could have went up to 130, and you never did that. So at the end of the day, Gary you know, just need to chill out. Talking about he want to fight in the weight, he want to go down in weight. I mean, this guy wants to go down in weight. You know what I mean? Gary is really, really capping, man. But anyway, that was Gary's 2 cents. After that, you had Fannin. He came out there and said, "Oh, there's proof." And who guess where Fannon's getting his proof from? That there was something wrong with Spence. Gary Russell. he he sourced the Gary Russell interview as proof. Now I remember a couple of years ago, these guys, this is what they used to do all the time. Spread rumors and gossip, and then each of them support each other with it. Okay, and keep repeating what the one guy said, and before you know it, all over the YouTube community, they're spreading the same thing. And this is how they basically, was trying to uh, screw with Crawford and other fighters that they didn't really like. And this is what they did to Crawford. But nowadays, that stuff don't really work that much anymore. People are kind of, hip to that now, and everybody's kind of hip to these guys, running their narratives. And so, I don't think people are falling for that nonsense too much anymore, because right now, if you look at all these guys that was so, these pro Spence, they're all talking about Crawford now. They don't got nobody to talk about. They can't talk about Spence, so they got to talk about Crawford. So this is what's going down. So anyway, there's a lot of people calling for the Boots Spence fight. Okay, let's see. Who do we got anyway? Let's see. We got two people in here. Okay, Madman. Yeah, I think he would take it just to prove he can fight better. But uh, Bud stopped Spence in 10. I don't think it's gonna last 10. I don't think it's gonna go 10. I'm still kind of, I'm still not sure if that fight is actually gonna happen. We gotta wait and see. It's just like the original fight. I'm not gonna believe it until I see them in the ring. Okay, so we'll see how that plays out. Let's see what our person is saying here. Little cat with these hands, Russell tripping. Yeah, yeah, Russell is tripping, man. That guy is. I mean, he's so full of nonsense. And then Russell, in that interview, he started talking about melanin, right? So he started talking about how melanin did. I know that Russell was a guy was always, I mean, I was talking about melanin this and melanin that, thinking that he's a superior guy because of his melanin. But the only problem with that is that Gary had a fight with Lomachenko, okay, and Lomachenko barely got any melanin. I don't think Lomachenko got. I think I don't think Lomachenko got 5% of the melanin that Gary got, and he's beat Gary's ass. Okay, so that must have been a shock to Gary. I guess his melanin power wasn't working that good that day. I don't know, but the no melanin Lomachenko beat Mr. Melanin Gary Russell. So so much for that. It's all good to talk about melanin, but melanin ain't gonna skills pays the bill, not melanin. Okay, or lack of it. So that's the way I see that. So anyway, everybody's talking about the Boots. They want the Boots fight. 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 Okay, a lot of people out there talking about Canelo, the Canelo fight. And I heard a couple of people give their opinion on what they think should happen next. Everybody is talking about Boots need to get his shot. That's all good to talk about Boots getting his shot, but Crawford waited 5 years for his shot. Okay, and what has Boots actually done? I mean, should we tell people, tell Boots to go fight Thurman, tell Boots to go fight Spence, tell Boots to go fight somebody else before he get a chance to fight Crawford? That's what they did to Crawford. They tell he had to go and fight that guy. His resume wasn't good enough. I mean, we talk about a guy that was undisputed, 40 pounds, but his resume was a lot of these guys were talking about, and he needed to fight somebody else before he fights Spence. So here we got Crawford 4 belt now. He doesn't just have 3 belts. He's undisputed, 2-time undisputed, the first man to do that. And now they're telling him he should give Boots his shot. I mean, where does that make sense? How does it make sense for him to fight Boots next? But all of these heterosexual fans are calling for this fight now. Now that Spence is out of the way, now they want somebody else. They think that Boots is going to be the guy to beat Crawford. The only thing I can say about that is this: if Boots get into that ring with Crawford, Crawford will KO him and end career. That's what I think. So I don't even, I don't even waste my time thinking about that fight, because people, don't really understand what boxing. They don't really understand boxing. They don't really know boxing. Okay. It was the same thing with the Spence fight. They were all talking. Spence gonna do this. Spence gonna do that. This, that, the other. And then what happened? We saw what happened. It was no contest, basically. And the same people, are talking about Boots passed the eye test. But according to them, Spence passed the eye test too. And what happened with Spence? Now they're talking about Boots. So what's going to be the difference? Personally, I think Boots has some talent, but that's about it. He doesn't have an experience. He doesn't have, his ring. I don't really see Boots as a high level elite fighter as people are claiming, because he hasn't fought anybody. And it's all good to have a potential abilities, but you have to prove that in the ring, and he hasn't done that yet. Who has Boots fought to be running around talking about he should get a shot? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if I was Crawford, I'll probably just give him the shot and just go ahead and knock his ass out and move on. But I doubt if Crawford's going to do it, because you already know he's going to knock out. He would knock Boots out. Okay, basically that's what would happen if they was to fight. Boots would get knocked out. And I don't really think, despite whatever Boots is talking about, I don't think Boots is going to put in there with a killer like Crawford. And the proof of that they already offered Boots and Bowser to fight and they refused it. Okay, so we already know this. They offered to fight to Boots already, and he didn't. With the Bowser didn't take the fight. He claimed, he sent it. He told him to call Espinosa, and then when they called Espinosa told them, oh well, we're trying to make the fight with Spence and Crawford. We're not making that fight now. And I'm pretty sure Bowser knew that they was trying to make the fight with Spence and Crawford. They wasn't gonna take the fight with Boots if it's gonna go through Showtime. The only way they was gonna get that fight was to go ahead and take the fight on their own, without Showtime. And accept the fight and then work something out. Showtime or whoever that they need, whatever network they need to work it out with, Black Prime or whatever, and get it done. But they didn't do that. Okay, that Boots could have been the tune-up, because Crawford wanted a tune-up fight. He wanted to fight, and so he ended up fighting Ebenezer instead. Okay, but Boots could have had that fight, but they didn't take it. But they're still out there. Boots still out there talking about, oh, Crawford don't want to fight him. What are you talking about? They offered you to fight, you didn't take it. So how is it that Crawford don't want? I mean, I don't understand what these people be thinking about. It's just I don't get it. I mean, everybody knows this happened. It came from Bose's own mouth. Blue Blood Sports told everybody what happened. even though Blueberry Sports not giving you the full story because he don't want to make it look. He don't want to tell you that Bosey don't want to. Boots don't want to go out, come out and tell you that Bosey refused to fight. He doesn't. He doesn't want to say that. But I know that because it came out of Bosey's own mouth. Him saying that. Okay. And like I said before in one of my videos, the plan for Bosey's whole plan was they went the IBF route. They didn't want to go the Crawford route. They know what time it is. They didn't want to go that route, so they went the IBF route, right? And they was hoping that once Spence had to fight with if once Spence had to fight with Crawford, and you know they put Bosey said that he thought Spence was going to win. So what they were hoping for was that Spence would beat Crawford, then he can't make the weight anymore, so he drop the belts, move up to 154, and then Bosey, as the interim champion, would pick up the IBF belt without throwing one punch. Okay, that's what they was hoping. That was the Bosey's plan. That was their plan. And then once they got the belt, then they can go ahead and do what they got to do. You know, try to collect the other belts at 135 pounds. I mean, 147 pounds. But Spence would be at 154, and more than likely Crawford would be at 154. So that was their plan. And now that Crawford kind of messed it up, in a kind of a way, but not really because now what they're gonna do, what they're trying to do now, instead of waiting for Spence to move up, they're waiting for Crawford to move up to 154. Okay, and then they would just once he dropped those belts, once Crawford moved to 54, wherever he's gonna move up to and drop those belts, then both they can just pick up the IF belt as the interim champion without throwing one punch. That's their plan. Now I don't care what they're saying now. They say what they could say. Your Bowley can go on Twitter. I mean, Boots can go on Twitter and say whatever you want. But I don't really see them making any move to make that fight. In terms of their mandatory position, did they activate it? Did they go ahead and do the paperwork for that? I don't think so. But I hear that Espinosa wants that fight next. But I can see, for Espinosa, who's kind of working with Boots and them, some kind of an unofficial capacity. I don't think they have a contract actually, but they're doing that. They're working, and maybe now after Espinosa killed the Boots Crawford fight, now he's trying to make it up for Bosey and them and get them that Crawford fight. But I don't think Crawford's going to take that fight, and I wouldn't recommend he does that. I don't see the point of it. There's no money in a Boots fight unless they're going to offer Crawford like 20 million to take the fight. I wouldn't fight. Now at the level where Crawford is at this point in his career, I don't really see him. He shouldn't fight for less than $20 million. I mean, they have to give me 20, 15, 20 million to fight Boots, or I'm going up to 168 and fighting Canelo because that's the way the money is. That's where the legacy is. There's no legacy in beating Boots, which I'm pretty sure, that Crawford will stop Boots. Not just beat him, but he'll stop him because, I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand how people can watch the fight with Boots and Karen and actually think that Boots can beat a guy like Crawford. I mean, think about it. Look at him. I mean, and the rationale that people give, they say, oh, well, he won all 12 rounds. So what? So he won all 12 rounds. Big deal. But Karen exposed Boots basically. All the different stuff, all that stuff. You can do all that, all those. Like when he was fighting Vila, he was doing this and trying to all that showboat and fancy this. I mean, that's all good for people that can't you know uh, can't take advantage of his mistakes. But believe me, Crawford is going to take advantage of those mistakes. The same mistakes that Karen was taking advantage of, Crawford will take advantage of those same mistakes, but the only difference is when he put that punch, when he land that punch on Boots, it's lights out. It's lights out for Boots. Karen couldn't punch, but Crawford can punch. Just imagine for a second, right? Just imagine for a second that instead of Karen in that fight with Boots, it was Crawford in that fight. And remember the way Boots fought Karen. And just imagine if it was Crawford in that with Boots instead of Karen, what would have happened that night? What do y'all think would have happened? So I have no problem with the Boots fight, but from a stylistic standpoint, I don't see Boots as any threat whatsoever to Crawford at all. because as far as I'm concerned, Boots is more, I mean, no disrespect to Boots, and I mean, but he's more, smoke and mirrors than anything else, and I remember, kind of remind me of a saying my drill instructor used to say in basic training, you know, he used to always say, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, then baffle them with bullshit. And that's the Boots. He's out there doing all this and do this tassels and and all of this. But it's just all you know. To me, it's gimmickry. I don't really see it as anything. It looks good when you're fighting, cab drivers and taxi drivers and those type of people. But you can't. You think he could go in the ring with a guy like Crawford and try any of that stuff? I don't think so. So, so much for Boots. Boots, do what he's doing. Wait till Crawford move up, and then you get a chance at those belts, and then he can go ahead and try to terrorize the welterweight division in the absence of Crawford and Spence and you know the old guard who was moving up to 154. So Boots could have the 147 to himself. He just got to be patient. I'd hate to see him get impatient and they give him that Crawford fight, and next thing you know, it's lights out for Boots. Because I think that Crawford would probably knock Boots clean out. It wouldn't be it would be a knockout. Because I think what would happen is Boots would go in there and you know, get out of line. Boots would want to get out of line, and then, you know, what happens when you get out of line with Crawford. Spend out the hard way, and Boots would find out, the same. He'd find out the same thing if he went in there against Crawford. So I see that as a real a fight. Really, I don't see, it's not a fight that Boots that fight is not a fight that a guy like Crawford should be taking right now at the level where he is right now. There's levels to this thing, and Boots is just not on that level. And Boots, and the problem, see, the problem for Boots is the same problem that Spence had. Okay, they're not really fighting anybody. Okay, Spence, they was giving Spence these cherry pick fights with these opponents that they know he can beat. Danny, and the only chance he really took was the fight against and Sean Porter. Everybody else, Danny Garcia, 140 pounds, Mikey Garcia, 135 pounds. All them other guys, we don't even know who them guys are. As Derek Davis said, they tell us who they are. We don't know who they are. They tell us who they are. Okay, so you know, those fights. There's no fight for Crawford at 147 pounds right now. There's no money there for him. He has to go up to 154 or 168 to get that money. And as far as the Charlo, uh, the Charlo Canelo fight, the winner of that fight is the fight for legacy for Crawford and for money as well. That's a big money fight. Everybody in boxing see that fight, and that's the fight that people should be trying to make. These clowns out there talking about, oh, you need to fight Boots, you need to give Boots a shot. They need to just shut up and go back to spreading their silly narratives that they've been doing all these years. Because I don't think anybody's going to take them too seriously at this point. A lot of those guys lost a lot of credibility. A lot of them are still in hiding. The ones that are out there, they're all on the Crawford bandwagon now. Oh well, I didn't. I never said Crawford wasn't a good fighter. I always said that. Yeah, right. Yeah, tell your story. So, these guys, they're out there now. They're on the Boots bandwagon now. That's the next guy they want to, send to the, send to send like a lamb to the slaughter to Crawford. They already slaughtered. They already sent Spence to the slaughter. Now they want to send Boots to the slaughter. These guys have no conscience. They don't care about these fighters. I mean, you want to put Boots in there with Crawford? Are you serious? I mean, what is that people see in Boots that they think he can beat Crawford or that he's such a good fighter? Did they see the Karen fight? Did they think that somehow Boots? You saw what happened after the Karen fight. What did they do Boots after the Karen fight? They put him in there with another guy that they put him in there with a tree. Okay, somebody that don't move at all. Okay, perfect kind of fight for Boots, right? Where you can just show off, show his speed because the guy is slow, the guy is just come forward, the guy have no real skills per se, and so that's the kind of fight. That's the only kind of fight they can give Boots, and that's the kind of fight they've been giving Boots his whole career. And this is why Boots is not at the level that Crawford is because he has never had any weights at welterweight that can really push him. Okay, and the reason for that, I would think, is because we already know that Bozy was trying. He had two other fighters that he had. Two other, one of them, I think, is his sons that was trying to fight, and they stepped up against some competition, and they got handled. And so, Boost is kind of like his last shot at it. So they've been moving Boost very carefully. Making sure he get the right fights that he can win and look spectacular doing it. But so he hasn't really been tested yet, and they want to put him in there as a test against a guy like Crawford. Suicide. I don't see any point in that. I want to see the Crawford Canelo, and I hope that's the fight that's made next. Now, if Crawford is going to fight before the Canelo fight, if he's going to fight someone like because I guess that would be the Spence at 154, since Spence is activating the mandatory. If that fight actually happened in December, then Crawford will be fighting in December. Uh, uh, Charlo and Charlo and Canelo is fighting in September 30th, so that's not too far from here. Yes, then if Crawford fight in December, then maybe the Canelo fight could happen maybe September, October 2024. You need to give Crawford some time to build up his weight and his muscles, and then they can go into that fight sometime next year. So hopefully that's what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what's going to happen because boxing need that fight. Okay, boxing need the Canelo uh, Crawford fight. They need it. Okay, and so hopefully we get that fight. You know. Now I'm hearing there's some about we can move off the Canelo Crawford fight for right now and talk about some other stuff. Let's see here. Let's go Chase Great. Yeah, so uh, I see Shakur Stevenson still out there moving kind of shaky. You know, he's I don't know what I think some words with Cambosos and Cambosos is clowning him because he's saying how can a guy turn down an offer for undisputed? What he say? What kind of guy turns down an offer for undisputed? You know what I mean? So you all know what happened with Shakur. He turned down the fight with Devin Haney, the kingpin Devin Haney, because 25% wasn't enough. I don't understand these guys. I mean, that's what Devin Haney did. He took whatever they offered him, went to Austria and fought Cambosos, won, and then went back and fought again and won again. So if Shakur thinks that Devin Haney's afraid of him and he can beat Devin Haney, then why didn't you just take 25%? You talk about 4 belts. I'm pretty sure 25% is more money than you ever made in your career. So why wouldn't you take that fight? So I'm kind of at a loss to understand exactly what Shakur is actually doing because I don't really think he want to fight Devin Haney. I mean, because if you really want to fight Devin Haney, why wouldn't you take the 25% and take that fight and become undisputed at a lightweight? And then after that, you're the man. You're the A side. Anybody else want any business with you or want to smoke with you? You're the man. You can set the demands now. But he didn't do it. But he's claiming Devin Haney's avoiding him. I mean, it doesn't make any sense what Shakur is doing. Okay, and what he's saying. So the only thing I can think that if saying that he wants to fight Devin Haney and Devin Haney offered him a fight with 25%, and as far as I know, the 25% was generous because typically you'd get a flat fee in the situation that we have with Devin Haney and Shakur, because Shakur doesn't even have a belt at 135 pounds. I mean, he has nothing. Devin Haney has all the belts. So all these guys out there that making demands and talking nonsense, about what they want when they have nothing to offer. I mean, it doesn't make any sense what Shakur is doing. So really, the only conclusion I can think of is that he doesn't really want to fight Devin Haney. He's just talking. Because if you really fight Devin Haney, you'd have took that 25%. Okay, because you don't have any belts. It's not like you have one of the lightweight belts, and you're gonna do a unification. Then I would understand if you didn't want to take 25%. But you have no belts. You have nothing. So what is it that you're talking about? You want you it should be fair. That is fair for under the circumstances. And again, if you, I mean, it just seems to me that Devin Haney, Shakur passed up a huge chance to become undisputed in one shot. Can you imagine that? Why would you pass that up? And then you out there running around talking about you want to fight Haney, and you send in bottles with sign the contract. What contract? Yo, I don't know. Shakur is my boy, but I mean, I don't know who's moving him or what they're doing with him. They need to tighten up and stop having him there looking crazy. Making these moves that really don't. That's not really helping his brand at all. It's making him look like he doesn't know what the hell is going on. So yeah, so the way I see that, I think Shakur want to fight Devin Haney. I think he wants Devin Haney to move up the belts, and then he can go ahead and terrorize the lightweight division and fight them guys. Because we know more than likely gonna fight him. Uh, Even though I'm hearing rumors that there's a fight they're trying to make right now, but I like to see it when I believe, because I don't know whether they're gonna put Tank in there with Devin Haney or Shakur. You know what I mean? I mean, we hear what they're talking about next for Tank. He got Isaac Cruz 2.0. I mean, these guys are something else. I mean, can you imagine they're gonna fight Isaac Cruz again? No, who's gonna watch that fight? I mean, the Mexicans, I guess, they would probably watch about it. I mean, I don't think that fight is gonna do 150,000 pay-per-views. I think the last fight do with Isaac Cruz and Tank. Who knows? But those are the kind of fights that we see Tank doing. You know, Isaac Cruz Part Two. I mean, are you serious? There's nobody else to fight but Isaac Cruz? I don't know. That's why I'm saying, boxing actually needs the Canelo Crawford fight, because all these guys, are basically moving kind of shaky. Now, I want to say something about Jamel Charlo and the Canelo fight, because a lot of people are overlooking that fight, and nobody's really talking about Jamel Charlo. Everybody is now, they just jumped on the bandwagon. They're talking about Crawford Canelo. It's like it's like people just totally dismiss Jamel versus Canelo. Not many people is giving him a shot to win that fight. They kind of write them off, but I wouldn't write him. I wouldn't go so far as to write him. I'm thinking that Canelo. I'm leaning towards Canelo at this point, but I still wouldn't write off in that situation, even though I'm leaning towards Canelo, because unlike Jamel has some skills. Let me just put it to you that way. Okay, Jamel has a lot of skills. I always liked Jamel as a fighter, but I liked him better when he was at Ronnie Shields. Okay, to me, you know, Derek James, the way they're using him now and the way they train him now, I don't really see that as the way. I think he was a much better fighter, or he used to move more. Let's just put it that way. He did more movement instead of what he does now, coming forward trying to knock people out. Before Jamel Charlo wasn't necessarily, when he was with Ronnie Shields, he wasn't considered to be a knockout puncher or a knockout fighter, but he had pop, but he would box more. And so he's going to need those boxing skills that he's been putting away, that he has locked up in his closet. He has to bring those boxing skills out against Canelo. And So again, I'm not going to write Jamel off against Canelo. I think he has a shot. I think it's a possibility that he can win, even though it might not be probable. But there's a possibility he can win against Canelo, and if he fights the right fight. Now, people can fight the right fight. We saw Sweet Hand. We saw Sweet Hands. He did pretty good against Canelo until he got knocked out. But that's the problem with these guys, right? They can fight the right fight, but they don't have the conditioning to maintain it for 12 rounds. Okay, usually where the rubber meets the road with Canelo, they do pretty good until they reach about the eighth, ninth round, and then they start getting tired, and then Canelo just walk them down and knock them out, or he just decision them because typically he just knocks them out, even though he had another knockout in his past two fights. But this is usually what happens. Now, if Jamel comes into this fight, there's so many different problems right though with Jamel. There's so many unknowns. In terms of how Jamel is going to look at the weight. How is he going to carry the weight? Is he still going to be fast at that? Will his power carry up? Will he be more powerful at 168 than he was at 154? A lot of intangibles, a lot of questions that need to be answered, and we can't answer those questions until he's actually in the ring with Canelo, which is going to be a problem. I would hate to have, I, I would hate to have Jamel, find out that the answer to those questions during the fight, but there's no other way for him to for us to find out because he's not going to take a tune-up fight. He's going right into the fight with Canelo. So a lot of people are thinking that if from the fact that Jamel is going to go up, from the fact that Jamel is saying he's coming back down to 154, they think he's going up to lose against Canelo to get the bag and then come back to 154 pounds. Okay, that's what a lot of people are thinking, because why would you go up, beat Canelo at 168 and come back down to 154 to fight Crawford? It doesn't make any sense from a business standpoint, So, but then again, lately we have heard Jamel kind of, like about a week or two ago, he said, "Hey, I'm coming back down to defend my throne, 154 pounds. I'm gonna go fight Canelo, then come back down and make history and fight Crawford." But the last time they asked him about that, he said, "Oh well, we can make that fight wherever I'm at. If if Crawford is still fighting, if we both still fight." I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So now he's kind of shading his answer and kind of moving the goalpost and saying that basically saying that Crawford is going to have to meet him where he is, and basically he's not coming back down from 168 to fight Crawford. This is basically what Jamel Charlo is saying when he says that Crawford is going to meet him where he's at, and if they're at the same weight, they can fight. And if Crawford is fighting again, if Crawford is still fighting, then yeah, they can make the fight happen. So Jamel is changing the story now, and this is why I think that after Crawford heard that, he probably said to himself, "Oh, so this guy's not coming back to 154. He's trying to get away to 168 and not come back. Well, you know what? I'm going up there. I'm going up there, and I want the winner of Charlo Canelo. I want the winner." So this is what is going on. I think this is the main reason why Crawford is going to 160. Plus the legacy. He wants to be three-time undisputed, and if he can't do that 154 because Jamel is not there, and then Jamel is not going to come back, then he's going to go to get the winner of Crawford. I mean, of Canelo Charlo, which is a good move, and to me that's the best move he could make under the circumstance. Okay, so I want to see that fight. But again, Jamel at 168 against Crawford, if Jamel power carries up, if he's still fast, if he could actually move and is in condition to go for 12 rounds, Canelo is going to be in a lot of trouble. Now, the only problem though is that when you look at the Castano, who's kind of a little Canelo with speed, we see that it doesn't look that good for Charlo at all, because I saw the first Canelo fight, first Castano fight, Castano gave him a lot of problems, and the fight was a draw. Okay, and he was getting hit a lot by Castano. Even in the second fight, he got hit a lot by Castano. So that's the problem. Even though uh, Canelo's not gonna put out the same volume of punches that Castano does. He's not gonna throw that many punches. So he probably won't hit as many times as Castano did. But still, it's gonna be it's a big question of whether or not Canelo, I mean, Jamel Charlo can take the punches of a 100 pounder like Canelo, who can thump. So that's going to be a big question. So we're going to see how that play out. If you can take the of Canelo, if you can take the punches, if he can still move, like he did at 154 and 168, and if his power carries up, and how his conditioning is. Okay, so a lot of factors here, you know, uh, and so it's kind of hard to really say how he's actually going to do. We actually won't know until he gets in the ring with Canelo, and so I'm looking forward to that fight as well. That should be an interesting fight, and you know. If Canelo, if Jamel wins the fight, then that's going to shake up the landscape of boxing again. I mean, like what happened when Crawford beat Spence. That's another big shakeup, and then the big showdown between either Charlo and Crawford or Canelo and Crawford. I mean, boxing is getting exciting again. This is excitement right now, and I can't wait to see how this is going to play. I can't wait for September 30th. I want to see how Charlo is going to do against Canelo. Hopefully, he's actually prepared for this fight. He's going for the bag. There's nothing wrong with going for the bag. I mean, like you said, it's prize fighting, but you don't want to just go for the bag. You want to win too and make history at the same time. Because if Jamel wins, then it's two-time undisputed versus two-time undisputed. And if Canelo wins, it's the same thing. So yeah, this is exciting news. If Crawford actually uh, get to make this fight with Canelo, I definitely want to see it. And I'm pretty sure the whole boxing world actually want to see this. A lot of you still people out there talking about, oh, it's too much weight to move up to 100, 68. There's weight division for a reason and all of this talk. Yeah, that is true. But under the circumstances, I think we can give Crawford a pass on this one. He's just too tempting to pass up a legacy like this. I mean, it would have been perfect. Actually, everything would have worked out perfect if Jamel would have stayed at 168 pounds. I mean, 154 pounds, and Crawford would have moved up. He could have fought Jamel. If he would have won, he'd have been three-time disputed. And if he decided again to move up to 168 and fight Crawford, fight Canelo, he'd have become four-time undisputed. Okay, but uh, that doesn't look like it's going to happen now. And I don't think Crawford wants to fight that long anymore. I think he just want to one or two fights, and then he's out of it. He's going to retire. So I'm pretty sure if he beats Canelo, he's probably going to retire. Unless if let's just say Canelo beats Charlo and then Crawford moves up to fight Canelo and beats Canelo, he's probably going to retire unless he has to fight Charlo at whatever weight Charlo wants to fight at. Okay, because at that point, they're probably 68 or 160. Because I don't think Crawford is going to go all the way up to 168 to fellow. He's probably going to be around 162, 161. I don't think he's gonna. He doesn't. I don't think he has to go up to 168. He's still gonna be basically a 160 pounder. Now, as for Jamel, I'm not sure. I'm hearing the same thing about him. Like he's probably gonna go up to about 164 pounds, not necessarily a full 168. But again, there's a lot of questions with Jamel and his whole moving up in the weight and all of that. The same question for Crawford as well. But the difference between Jamel and Crawford and these questions about how they're going to do at that higher weight division is the fact that Crawford has moved up three times already but Jamel has never moved up. So we can say there's a precedent for Crawford doing it, that he can actually do that, and he has done it on more than one occasion, and done it successfully. And so it's more likely that he do it successfully at 160, move up to 168 successfully as well, because he has a track record of doing that, as opposed to Jamel, who doesn't have a track record of doing anything like that. Okay, so you know, there's a lot of pros and cons for Jamel, mostly cons, but again, I'm not going to write him off, because if he goes up there and he's actually anything close to what I think he could be in terms of you know he carrying his punch, still has speed, and is in good condition, and tighten up on his defense, and move in the fight, he can he could give Canelo some trouble, especially if his power carries up with him. If if his power carries up, he'd probably hit harder than Canelo. So, but at any rate, uh, the way I see this, I think that at this point right now, without knowing anything else, I gotta see. I've really seen Jamel, what he actually looks like. If you saw him in the different interviews, and he's always got this big back and stuff on, like he's trying to hide what he looks like for some reason. I don't know why, but we haven't really seen much of him. So I want to see some more of him to see how he's gonna, uh, look. And what I'm gonna say is this: if he doesn't change a lot of things that I see him did, that like he did in the Castano fight, if he doesn't change some of the things that I saw him doing in that fight and getting hit by Castano, I see the fight ending with a Canelo left hook or a right hand over the top. Okay, that's how I see the fight ending against Jamel. A Canelo right hand over the top, or a Canelo left hook, because the way Jamel fights, he's susceptible for those shots from Canelo. Okay, and Castano was hitting him all night. So again, if Jamel doesn't change some of the things I saw him do in the Castano fight, and he goes in there and does the same thing against Canelo, the fight is going to end from Canelo or a right hand over the top. That's it. Okay? Jamel leaves himself open too much. He's too busy throwing punches and not really thinking about what he's doing. He's just slugging it out, brawling. He brawls. He was brawling with Castano instead of fighting smarter and moving around the ring. In the second fight, he ended up overpowering Castano in the end, and stopped him. But I don't know how that's going to play out against Canelo. I don't think Canelo got a chin of iron. I mean, but again, we don't know how hard Jamel is going to be punching at 168. So a lot of stuff we got to wait and see what's going on. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. We're gonna have to see what kind of Jamel Charlo looks like. Once we get close to the fight, and see what I saw him doing some practicing some moves in there. He was like, but he was doing movement. It looks okay, but it didn't look too fluid to me. Jamel, I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. It's gonna be a interesting fight. Hopefully, he's actually prepared for this fight, and just doesn't think he's prepared. I don't know how the Spence debacle is gonna affect him, if he's gonna be worried about what could happen in there against Canelo. Because he seems to have a lot of respect for Canelo for some reason. Why? So all those guys. Spence had a lot of respect for Canelo. Nothing wrong with respecting Canelo, but I don't know. I mean, you know, I think they should approach it the way Sweet Hand did it. He approached it with the right attitude. Even though Canelo stopped him, but he had the right attitude. Like, I'm going in to take care of business, and who the hell is Canelo? And Canelo is a drug cheat and this, that, and the other. He was playing a lot of psychological games with Canelo. But we see Charlo, up there acting out of character. Him, shaking Canelo's hand and saying hello, and then giving Canelo a lot of compliments, and who knows? But again, hopefully he's not just going for that bag, because Canelo can hurt a guy. Now, if we compare the fight between Bivol and Canelo, and how I don't know if they're going to be studying that Bivol fight. If they did, I don't know. Derek James doesn't watch a lot of boxing, as he says on more than one occasion. So he probably didn't watch the Bivol fight with Canelo. Who knows? But uh, the Bivol strategy is what is needed to be like Canelo. We saw how Bivol did it. And the question is, uh, even Bivol had a little trouble, not too much trouble, but he handled his business well, but Canelo had some moments in there as well. And, Bivol was able to handle it, but again, that's how you got to fight, but you got to move. You got to push him back when you need to push him back, and you got to move when you need to move. That's the way Bivol did it. Now, Bivol did it for the full fight because he was in good condition. Again, the condition is going to be very important with Jamel Charlo. I think the main thing for Jamel Charlo in this fight is going to be conditioning. Okay, that's the main thing he needs to work on is conditioning. He should be in 15 round fight shape. He should be training for 15 round 12. So we're going to see if he actually comes in the condition or not. If he doesn't, it's going to be a long night for Jamel Charlo against Canelo. A lot of people are saying Canelo is down. He's on his way out. So Canelo has a lot to prove right now, and he might be really training hard to prove it against Jamel Charlo. So Jamel Charlo needs to be careful in there with Canelo. He might want to spark out Jamel Charlo to send a message to Crawford and the rest of the boxing world that I'm Canelo. Okay, I'm Saul Canelo Alvarez. Don't mess with me, man. You think I'm over the hill, or you think I'm getting slow? Okay, that's what you see what I did to Jamel. I'm gonna do the same thing to Crawford. So we're gonna have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward to the fight with Crawford. I mean, not with Crawford and Canelo, but I'm also looking forward for the fight with Jamel and Canelo. That should be a very, very interesting fight. It would be a great. It would be. It would be something else if Jamel actually went in there and beat uh, Canelo. Uh, but if he does that, he's going to convince him if he doesn't knock him out because he's not going to get a decision against Canelo, I don't think. Okay, so he's going to have to knock Canelo out or beat him like the way Crawford beat Spence, so that there's no question. Okay. Yeah, I kind of believe it's going to be hard to KO Canelo though, because one thing about Canelo, you can say anything you want about Canelo. Uh, that guy has the chin of iron. I mean, I saw him take some shots from Triple G that would have broke other people's jaw, and he just took it. So Canelo can take a shot, and again, if Charlo's power doesn't carry up to 168, he's going to be in trouble. Okay, so he could. It's conceivable that Charlo can move to 168, and his power he has less power than he did at 154. That's also conceivable. That could happen. So there's a lot of unknowns and intangibles in this fight. So it's I don't know, but we'll see what the odds makers are going to say. They're probably going to have Canelo as the favorite, more than likely. And typically when they have the house always wins. Okay, a lot of people we saw with the Crawford and Spence fight that the house had. you know, Crawford winning, even though a lot of people didn't really seem to pay much attention to that. They just assume that it's just what it is. But that's a big thing. Okay, I mean, when are they ever wrong? They're rarely wrong. They rarely lose. So the guy that they pick is usually the guy that's going to win. So we're going to see what they do with Jamel and Crawford, but I mean Jamel and Canelo. But I'm pretty sure that Canelo is going to be the favorite. You know, a lot of people lost money on Errol Spence. Even I think it just goes to show you, man, that you can make people believe anything at the end of the day. If you repeat it long enough, people believe any damn thing. They were repeating so long that Crawford never fought anybody, that his resume was trash. The people he fought was trash. That people actually, I think even Derek James started believing that. It's like an echo chamber. Everybody started believing that nonsense, and we all saw the result of that. You know, so yeah, Canelo and Charlo is going to be a good fight. I'm definitely looking forward to that fight. Uh, Canelo is not as defensive as before. I don't know about that. I think Canelo is defensive to be. I think the problem with his last two fights was that Bivol was just too big for Canelo. I mean, I think 168 pounds is as far as Canelo needs to go. Uh, it's just Lomachenko who is fighting a lightweight, but he really should be fighting a junior lightweight. Everybody's bigger than him at lightweight, and that's why he's losing so many. He lost a lot of fights because he's not. He's just too small for that weight division. And his skills. He got good skills, but he doesn't really carry over. Yeah, I mean, he did pretty good at lightweight, but you know. So yeah, Canelo, yeah, finna fight, yeah, or Canelo finna fight, but as it's not capped. The fight is gonna happen. That's what I believe anyway. I think the fight is gonna happen. That fight is definitely gonna happen. I think it's gonna, that's boxing need that fight. It's a big fight. Everybody's they probably counting the money already. We're talking about like 150, maybe $200 million fight, really, when you count everything up, pay per views and all of that, gates. It's gonna be a big fight, huge fight. So everybody, I think the networks want that fight, promoters want the fight, Crawford definitely want the fight, and he's at a stage right now where people are giving him, people believing that he can probably actually, if not beat Canelo, he can probably Canelo a good a good fight at least. So we'll see how it plays out though. I'm definitely looking forward to that fight. I can't wait, man, for that fight to happen. So you know, hopefully, we'll see what happens. Virgil Ortiz. I don't know about where. I haven't seen Virgil too much. Last I heard, Virgil was fighting at 100 and was fighting at 154. Because Virgil's a big guy. And I think he likes to eat. And if you see him, you notice that he's not really that toned. He was never really that toned at welterweight. He's kind of have a little stomach there most of the times. So I guess he had he grew out of the weight or he ate himself out of the weight. I don't know which one it is, but supposedly he's going to be 154 pounds. So but I haven't really seen much of him, because as you know, Virgil was one of those guys that was supposed to be a manager for Crawford along with Boots, but he turned down that fight many times. So did Boots. He turned the fight down already. Virgil turned it down twice. So people can say what they want, but those guys don't want no. They don't want any smoke with Crawford, and especially after what happened with Spence, a lot of these guys ain't gonna want to mess around with Crawford. Boots, he's just talking. I don't think he actually is gonna. Bowles, he's not gonna let him get in there. He's just cloud chasing really to bring up his name, raise his profile because you mentioned your name Crawford right now, and you're gonna get some eyes on you because everybody got their eyes on on Crawford right now. So, if you do a little cloud chasing with Crawford right now, this is the right time to do the cloud chase. You know what I mean? So you call out Crawford and yeah, you're good to go. So just hope that you don't accept. I think that's what most of them were doing. They call off and I hope he don't expect. I hope he doesn't accept it. You know what I mean? So they can get a little clout. Where does Canelo rank among the? Now I've heard a lot about that, but a lot of people talk about. A lot of people say he's the greatest of all time. I don't believe it. I don't see that as him being the greatest of all time. Mexico. There's too many great Mexican fighters, man. I mean, there's a lot of them. Salvador Sanchez. Alexis Arguello. Well, he wasn't really Mexican. He was Nicaraguan. Well, he's Spanish, right? He's Latino, whatever you want to call him. Uh, you have, well, Wilfredo Benitez was Mexican either. He's Puerto Rican. Then you had Wilfredo Gomez. You had the guy that he fought. I remember I saw a fight where Wilfredo Gomez was fighting. I think it was Carlos. Wilfredo Gomez against Carlos. I mean, those guys. I mean, these guys are legends in Mexican boxing. You know what I mean? I think I saw they had a fight and it was 15 rounds and at the I think it was the 14th round or the last round. I don't remember exactly, but they actually picked up Wilfredo Gomez and carried him out to the center of the ring from this bench. That's how. I mean, that was a brutal fight. I mean, this guy was going at it. He was a. I mean, man. If you ever get a chance, look up that fight and watch it. Wilfredo Gomez versus Carlos Zarate. At the time, I think their record was. I'm don't quote me on any of this, but I think like Zarate had like about 90 fights or something like that, or with like 60 something fights with like 60 knockouts, 67 fight with like 64 knockouts, and Gomez had like 50 something fights with like let's say for example, you like 51 fights with 51 with 50 knockouts, something like that. I mean, these guys were like so. There's a lot of great Mexican fighters. You know, it's hard to say that Canelo was the best of them. You got Cesar Chavez. You got a lot of guys, man. I'd have to go into my bag look and see all the different Mexican fighters, but there's a lot of great Mexican fighters of yesteryear that these guys fighting like they had like 100 fights, 120, 90 fights, 80 fights. You see Canelo moving up there, with the same almost the same amount of fights, but he'll never get like these guys back in the days. They used to, that's one thing about Canelo. He fights a lot, which is good. But back in the days, people used to fight. Like you have a fight today, they used to fight like how they do it in MMA now. You have championship fights then, and 4 months or 2 months later, you have another fight. So back then, people used to fight like 4 or 5 times. Sometimes 3 times for the month, 5 times for the month. They'll have a fight this week, and in 2 months they have another fight, and but in a year they have like 8, 9 fights. Some people have 6, 7 fights. That nobody wasn't fighting back in the day. Nobody wasn't fighting like now. People fighting once every 3 years. Or I mean, that's why when they compare the fighters of yesteryear and the fighters of today and they say which is great. I mean, I don't really see the comparison really because I don't I mean back in the day people used to fight like I said first they 15 rounds and they used to fight 3, 4 times 4, 5, 6, 7 times for the year. Okay, almost every month they were fighting. People were fighting almost every month. So I don't really see. So I mean, you had with fighting that many times, you had to be sharper than you are now. The people are now who don't really fight but once every year, or you know, if they fight twice a year, they're fighting a lot. Okay, so if you got a guy fighting 5, 6, 7 times for the year, and you got a guy fighting once or twice a year, who's going to be sharper? You know, so, but then again, it is. I guess you could say that those guys they give their body time. Today, people get their body get time to relax, and but more or less, people bodies adapt to whatever their output is. So if your output is one fight every 3 years, your body's gonna adapt to that. If it's 10 fights for the year, your body's gonna adapt to that. So that's how that's probably how that works out. But yeah, back in the days, quite a lot. So it's no comparison to what it is today. Like in terms of the greatest fighter, I don't know if Canelo is in that conversation. Maybe he is, but I would have to do more research on it and look and go back over some of those great Mexican fighters of yesteryear and then compare them. But I don't really, maybe Canelo should be up there somewhere, but I don't think he's at the top. But he's probably there, knocking at the door. But I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot of guys, you know, uh, that are more deserving than him because, like I said, these guys fight a lot. They used to fight three, four, five. Some of these guys used to fight, more than once a month. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just, and like I said, let me just take a look. Let me look at Carlos Zarate record and see what his record was. Cause let's see, Carlos Zarate. Okay, so then Carlos Zarate. Let's see. Carlos Zarate, he had 70 fights, 66 fights, 63 KOs, and 4 losses. See that? 66 fights and 63 KOs. 95, almost 96% KO rate. So these guys, to compare the fighters of today to some of these guys of yesteryear, it's not really fair because these guys were fighting under much tougher conditions back in the days, and 15 rounds, uh, you know, fighting, a lot of fights, um, and let's see, let's just look at this, right? So Zarate fought from 1970 to 1988, 18 years, right? And he had 66 fights, okay, and only 4 losses. Let's look at us. Let's see what Wilfredo Gomez, what his record was. Let's see. Yeah. So Wilfredo Gomez had 44 fights with 42 KOs. You know what I'm saying? He's a great fighter. He got 3 losses, 1 draw. He got knocked out 3 times. So let's see how many fights he had. Yeah, never. Yeah. Let's see when he fought. And Wilfredo Gomez, he lost to Salvador Sanchez at the time. Uh, that was his first loss, by the way, against Salvador. It was another great fighter, Mexican fighter. Salvador Sanchez. He lost to Salvador Sanchez. That was his first loss. It was a knockout. Sanchez knocked him out. So let's see what else we got here. Yeah, lost TKO to TKO. I'm trying to look for the trying to look for the Zarate fight. Let's see. Did they fight? Actually fight? Or just my memory playing tricks with me? Let's see. Yeah, they did fight. Okay, so here it is. Yeah, so Carlos Zarate, Wilfredo Gomez, both fighters were over 124 pounds on the first attempt at scale. Zarate had to make 4 trips to make 122 pounds. Gomez knocked down Zarate twice in the fourth round. The second knockdown came after the bell had sounded. The referee Harry Gibbs stopped the fight when Zarate was dropped again in the fifth, and the Mexican corner threw in the towel. Okay, so yeah, that was a great fight, a brutal fight. Uh, so let's see. Let me look at see like we have a. Let me look at these records now. So we have Wilfredo Gomez. He fought Jacinto Fuentes in 1974, 11-16, right? Then he fought again in 12-21, 11-16, and then 12-21. That's less than a month later, right? Then he fought again uh, 75 in February. That's 2 months later. Then he fought in March, which is less than a month later. Then he fought in 75 again in May, right? In May. So March, April, May, 2 months later. Uh, then he fought again in June. So he fought less than a month later. Uh, Again, he fought in June, and then he fought in August. Like 2 months later again. And then after that, he fought in the next month, right? And a month later, he fought again. Uh, and then 3 months later, actually 2 months later, he fought again. And then 2 months after that, he fought again. So you see what I'm talking about? So these guys are fighting like every month, every 2 months. I mean, so in 1 year, these guys were like, fighting, let me see, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven times in 1 year. That's almost a fight every month, right? So that's the difference between those guys back in the day and these guys today. These guys fight 7 times in 10 years, and they used to fight 7 times in 1 month. So those guys had to be in better shape and in better condition than these guys of today. They had to stay in shape because you didn't have time to get out of shape. Okay, so these guys are always in shape, more or less, because they have to stay in shape at all times. Because you fight today and you fight next month, you don't have time to get fat. You don't have no time to get fat. You constantly training and fighting. So this is the difference. So when people talk about how the fighters of today is much better than the fighters of yesteryear, I'm not buying it. These guys were different back then. You know what I mean? These guys actually fought every damn month they were fighting. So see that? So yeah, these guys. I mean, these guys actually fought. Yeah. So there's a lot of great Mexican fighters, man. A lot of great Mexican fighters. Some of the best fighters in the world are Mexican. Okay, good, great fighters. Salvador Sancho was a great fighter. Okay, you know, uh, Lupe Pintor, Juan Antonio Lopez, Jose Gonzalez, Salvador Sanchez, Jose Kid Pambele Cervantes, uh, another great fighter, Ruben Valdez, Mendoza, Julio Hernandez, another good fighter. A lot of good fighters back in the day. Yeah, so to answer your question, uh, there was a lot of it's hard to really say where Canelo fits in it with those fighters. When you consider all the variables, you know, those fighters to me was a lot better than Canelo, and not just better than not just better than Canelo, but in terms of what they're doing, but better than a lot of fighters of today. Not just Canelo. Like I said, you see the fight almost every month. These guys are fighting almost every month. Today, they talk about guys uh, fighting, and as you saw with Carlos Zarate, he lasted 18 years fighting like that, almost every month. You got guys today, they retire after 5, 6 years or 10 years. They retire. They're done. And in that 10 years, they probably had 5 fights. Oh man, I mean, look at uh one time, one time. When the last time Keith them had a fight? God only knows. Okay, what do you fight next? Last time you fought was Barrios, I think, right? You fought Barrios last time. So in the last 3 years, Thurman fought like once, twice, maybe. So and now we hear Thurman out there calling out he wants Crawford next. He's thirsting for Crawford. Uh, I don't know. When Crawford came to the welterweight division, oh, ear to there. Oh yeah. uh, I didn't know. Your Derek James series is award winning. Cooking, keep them coming. I hear you. Appreciate that. But I'm not a chef, but uh, the Derek James situation is just ridiculous. I mean, this guy has no filter. It looks like I don't know what this is. Like I said, like in my videos, I said in the videos, I don't know what is it about Crawford that gets this guy so excited and get him out of his off his square. Like he just totally fall apart anytime Crawford is around. You don't even have to be around. Just mention Crawford's name and the guy starts you know, he, he just start talking all kind of foolishness. I mean, it's an incredible thing to watch. You know, I mean, he can't say nothing good about Crawford, nothing whatsoever, not one thing. I mean, you saw the interview where they asked him, does he stay? Is Crawford the better fighter? He said, no, his guy's the better fighter. Spencer's the better. Actually, Crawford's the better boxer. He said, no, his guy's the better fighter. He kind of shaded the question. So, yeah, I don't know. Derek James, man, I don't think he's doing. He did. I don't think he did Spence any good in this fight. At the end of the day, we all know now that they didn't actually. We all knew that they didn't, actually want to fight over there at PBC at Crawford because this is just common sense. Everybody now we look back in hindsight and we know that was the case. We a lot of people knew it from back then. But the thing is that you know they had plausible deniability, right? So they put up all the smoke and mirrors talking about he's gonna circle the block and all of this nonsense when the plan was from day one, the plan was to get that third belt from Ugas, move up to 154 and don't fight Crawford at 147 and just move up. That was the plan. Okay, that was the plan, and from what we heard from Mayweather about Spence fighting at 168 or 160, we know that was the plan, and we heard Spence said that he can move up and fight Canelo. That was the whole plan. They had no intention of fighting Crawford. Okay, at the end of the day, And I guess we gotta credit Spence, but I don't want to give him too much credit anyway because we can give him some credit, but we can't give him too much because the only reason he actually fought Crawford because people demanded it, you know, and they kept demanding it, and we kept on, we kept demanding it, we kept saying that he's ducking and he's ducking, and after a while, all of that led to a critical mass, and he just couldn't go any, as a man, I guess he just couldn't see himself leaving and not fighting Crawford after all the stuff that was said about Crawford and and what Crawford was this and Crawford was that, across the street, 60-40, 20-30, whatever. So all of that, you know, at the end of the day, he had to fight. He didn't have to fight him, but he ended up fighting him. So we could give him credit because he actually made the fight, and he made the fight against the will of his his team. I don't think anybody wanted this fight. Now the question, there was a lot of questions about who actually wanted to fight or who didn't want to fight. We wasn't sure if it was PBC that didn't want to fight, even though suspected as much, or if it was actually Spence that didn't want to fight. But now that everything has come out in the wash, we can see that it was actually PBC that didn't want to fight. I thought it was more Spence that didn't want to fight, which I think he actually went along with the PBC plan. I mean, he didn't want to fight either at first. If he could have got away with it, he would have got away without making this fight. But I think that like I said, the man went to a critical mass, and after a while, he just looked too ridiculous not to take this fight. I mean, it just didn't make any business sense not to take the fight. I mean, I mean, it's a business. I mean, from a business standpoint, it's a great fight, But they pretty much knew that Crawford was going to beat Spence. I think, especially Mayweather, he knew that. Okay, if anybody knew it, Mayweather did, and that's probably why the fight never happened until it was fought until Spence actually, excuse me, until Spence actually put his foot down and said, "I want this fight." And so you see that when a fighter actually wants to fight and wants to make a fight, it's made. There's no question. So when a lot of these fights are not made, regardless of if it's the camp or the advisor or whoever the team don't want to fight, if the fighter actually want to make the fight, it's gonna be made. Okay, it's simple as that. And we saw that with Spence. He decided he wanted to make the fight. You know, we give him credit for that because he did decide to do it, even though you know he was kind of coerced into it. Now, I guarantee you that one of the main people that never wanted this fight was probably Derek James, regardless of all the things he was saying about Crawford not having a resume, not fighting nobody, this, that, the other. I don't think he wanted Spence to take this fight. But credit to Spence, he took the fight, which, I mean, why would you want to turn down 25 million, 30, 40, probably about $40 million after you get all the money? That's $40 million fight. Why would you? I don't give a damn if I'm going to lose or not lose. I'm taking the fight. You know what I'm saying? It's $40 million, $30 million. You kidding me? I'm gonna not take the fight because I'm worried about losing. Nah, I'm not gonna turn down $30 million because I think I might lose. There's no guarantee I'm gonna lose. I can go in the ring and Crawford could drop dead. Anything could happen. Who knows? he could he could he could stub his toe and fall down before he get in the ring, and I got my 40 million or whatever. So yeah, I would take that fight. So I don't blame Spence for taking the fight, whether he thought he was gonna win or not. I mean, take the fight. And he did that. So we gotta give him credit for that, and give him props for that. He did take it eventually, and so the rest is history. Canelo is Mexican that looks black, that looks Irish, that fights black. I don't know about fighting black. I'm not even sure what that is, fighting black. Is that fighting with melanin or like Gary Russell, who lost to Mr. No Melanin Lomachenko? I guess the melanin didn't help him that time around. At the end of the day, my friend, skills pays the bill. It doesn't make a difference whether you're black, Mexican, or Irish. Skills pays the bills. That's how I see it. I don't see it any differently. And Jamel was so meek and subservient to Canelo in their press conference. I'm sure Derek will give you more fresh fish to cook with the Mel Canelo case. Oh man, that's funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I think for me, even though a lot of people say that Spence used to beat up Jamel in sparring, I don't really believe that. Because Jamel got a lot of skills. I'm sorry. I mean, to me, Jamel is a much more skilled fighter than Errol Spence. And he has all the tools. But I mean, he's no Crawford, but he does have skills, and he can't, he's not as proficient with his tools as Crawford is, but he does have them, and he can use them when he has to. So I'm not that. Again, I'm not gonna write Jamel off because at the end of the day, when it comes to with his fight with Canelo, it's all about the execution, and if he could execute, a game plan. Now the question is, what kind of game plan they're gonna come up with? We don't know. I mean, Derrick James had no game plan for Crawford. Okay, at the end of the day, the only game plan he had was, we're gonna break him. You know, like Kunta Kinte. I don't know where Spence got. I mean, Spence is too young to remember Kunta Kinte. I mean, so he must have got that from Derrick James. I bet you that's where he got that from. Derrick James probably said that. We're gonna break him. Like, that was hilarious. Kunta Kinte. But yeah, man, a lot of things have changed in boxing since July 29th, and right now we got the boy. Let's see, TBE, TB. I don't believe it is. Jamel has the strength and Errol and the real skill, but Jamel and Derek can't get in front of a microphone without saying something ridiculous. Yeah, you're right about that. I don't know what's going on with Jamel though. I mean, this guy is. I mean, I guess he's trying to calm down now, but the last interview you saw him when he was talking about where Al Heyman gave him advice on how. I guess Al Heyman coaches him before he appears on interviews like the one he did. He said that that Al Heyman coaches him and tell him how to answer the questions and stuff. And he also said that Al Al Heyman calls him at late at night and you know he doesn't really like that too much because he be on his Hennessy. Ah, he be on his Hennessy and he trying to talk and he probably be drunk and can't really talk. And I'll be calling him late at night. I'll probably call to check up if check up if he's on his Hennessy. I'll probably tell him, man, ease off of the Hennessy, bro. I mean, these guys and the way he sounds, the way he sounds is like the Hennessy nights is a regular thing. The way he was, the way he sounded, like every night he's on, almost every night or whatever. It just sounded like that was a regular thing that the Hennessy nights, he had his Hennessy at nighttime. So these guys, I know that's what I'm saying. All these things factors, these guys drinking. You got Spence, Broner, the Charlo. I mean, they're probably all drinking buddies, go out and party and drink at nighttime and all that. So these guys not living the boxing lifestyle. So again, I'm not sure how they're gonna fare against a guy like Canelo. All these you gotta add that into the picture because you know, you know. So I don't know, how these guys expect to be at the top of the game when they be out drinking and carousing, God doing God knows what else. We know about the drinking, but what else are they doing? So, you know, these guys, I don't know. They don't live the fighter's lifestyle, and it shows. Look what happened. I mean, look at Broner. I mean, this guy had so much talent. This guy was on a on a spaceship to the stars practically. And what happened? He gave it all up for liquor. Can you imagine that? You gave up your whole career for liquor. I mean, damn, you got a choice: liquor or my career. And you chose liquor. I mean, come on, man. You know. So it is what it is. Yeah, Roots came out in 1977, if I'm not. Yeah, somewhere around there. And Errol Spence was nowhere around in those days, so I don't think he even saw Roots. Maybe he did. I don't know. But I don't, I don't know. Al is making Jamel be sweet on Canelo to stay in line and make sure his brother gets his payday too after he gets work. I don't think Canelo's gonna fight his brother. I'm sorry. I think it's a one fight deal. I think it's one Jamel, it's one Charlo. It doesn't make a difference which one. I guess he didn't much care which one he fought. He just wanted one, and so he got Jamel. So I think a 3 fight deal. He's gonna fight what, Jamel. Then he's gonna fight who next? Maybe Benavidez, and then the last fight was supposed to be for probably for Spence. Later on down the line, but that's done with now. I doubt they're still gonna do. Maybe they might still do the Spence Canelo, but who'd want to see that at this point? I don't know because according to Mayweather, Spence should be at 160, 168, and he probably will get up there. Once he gets to 150, I don't know. He probably move up to 160 because but now that Jamel has moved to 160, maybe you stay at 150, and because Jamel Charlo is at 160. I'm not sure Jamel Charlo is going to fight again. Nobody knows if this guy is going to fight. Is he in any mental condition to fight? I mean, I don't know. Uh, this guy been out of the ring too long. And for what we hear, there's a whole bunch of problems going on in his household. I mean, everybody got problems here and there, but I don't know. These guys seem to have more than their fair share. Well, I don't know about that because Canelo. They asked him in the Breakfast Club if he's gonna fight Jamal, and he said he don't know about. He don't think so. He said no. Basically, he said anything could happen, but you don't see that happening. So you probably have other plans. Uh, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people are pushing for the Canelo Crawford fight to be one after Jamel. So you know that I'm pretty sure that fight is gonna happen. If depending on what happened with the Crawford Spence rematch. We don't know if that fight is actually going to happen or not. I'm hearing that Spence activated mandatory, but I have to look that up myself just to make sure. I just saw that somewhere on one of these podcasts. These guys be talking nonsense. But who knows what you do? If that's true or not. If it's just some wishful thinking by one of these aerosexuals. But if the rematch is going on between Spence and Crawford in December, yeah, the fight between Crawford and Canelo could happen next year sometime, late next year. Maul needs to fight plant face toe course covering. uh, uh, yeah, that would be a good fight. I wouldn't mind seeing Jamel. But yeah, Plant and Plant and Jamal would be a good fight. Plant and any Charlo would be a good fight. It'd be interesting to see who would win. We know that Plant can take an ass whooping. We saw what happened with Benavidez. He took that ass whooping that whole fight. I mean, man, that was an ass whooping. He took it though, like a man. So, but yeah, he's lying. Unless Bud actually does move up all that weight, do you really think Canelo would take a real challenge like Morales or Benavidez? It depends on the money. I would think. I think it depends on the money, how much money there is. Uh, I think if the money is right, Canelo would take the fight. I mean, he took the money to fight uh, Mayweather. Mar does. Let's see that Mar does need to regain his dignity, fight for his honor, and see Plant immediately. Yeah, that's a fight that should happen. But is Plant is Jamal in any condition to fight? I don't think so. You know, from what I'm hearing, this guy got severe issues from a mental standpoint. It looks like so. Our emotional issues, family issues, all of that. So I don't know. Who knows if Jamal is ever gonna even fight again at this rate? You know what I mean? So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But I wouldn't, I wouldn't be looking to see a Jamal Charlo Caleb player fight anytime soon. Based on what we see, how we see Jamal moving, he's not really moving the right way. So I don't think that's probably going to happen. But I would be interested to know who Caleb Plant is going to fight next. At 168. I mean, what is there for him to do there? I mean, Canelo got all the belts, so Canelo just whooped him. So I don't think that fight is going to happen between him and Canelo anytime soon again. So Canelo's kind of got the whole 168 division unlocked. So yeah, but it would be a good fight between Jamal and Plant. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. You know. Yeah, well, I feel you, but at the end of the day, that slap, from what I'm hearing from Plant, it was well deserved. I guess it was, playing with Plant, and he got tired of it and slapped the hell out of Jamal. But I don't know these guys, man. Like I said, these guys, I don't know. These guys don't move like fighters. They move kind of shaky. You know, hard work and dedication. Mayweather and Crawford, those guys are serious. These guys are real warriors. They take the business seriously and they go into the deep to take business to do the business. They're not in there playing games. You know, they're not in there hoping and coping. A lot of these guys are just hoping and coping. They're not. But again, I can't wait. I want to see the Canelo chart. I want to see the Canelo Crawford fight. That's the fight. That's the fight of the century right there. You know. And if Crawford goes up and beat Canelo, man, forget about it. He's number one. He's got to be number one pound for pound, all time great pound for pound fight. He's number one, all time great. That would be a great fight. Mar will fight again as soon as his divorce is final. He needs the money, cash out fight. He might be right about that because remember the last time we heard about it, he was in a what? He was in a restaurant and his credit card, debit card. We don't even know if it's a debit card or a credit card. It bounced. Yeah, so yeah, he's gonna need the money. He hasn't fought in a while. You know what I mean? So he probably does need some cash. I don't know if he's getting divorced. I haven't heard anything like that. If you heard it, is that true? Are they getting divorced, him and his wife? I didn't hear anything about that. You just trolling him. Uh, unless Bud actually does move all that way, do you think Canelo would take a real shot like Morales and Benavidez? I don't know. Personally, I think that Canelo would beat Benavidez. You know, because we saw in the plan fight that for the first couple of rounds, Benavidez, he had a hard time pinning down Plant, and Plant went the distance when Benavidez should have stopped him, but he couldn't do it. He tried, you know. So I'm not so sure. People thinking that Canelo is ducking Benavidez. I'm not so sure about that. I don't really see any reason for Canelo to duck Benavidez. What is there to duck? I mean, Benavidez gets hit a lot. You think he's gonna once Canelo tap that jaw, he's not gonna feel it? I don't see Benavidez as defensively sound enough to beat a guy like Canelo. I don't see that happening. So I don't really see Canelo as ducking Benavidez really because I don't think I think I don't think Benitez could beat him. Yeah, good old Floyd. Yeah, can you imagine if Crawford was to actually beat Canelo and stop him? Like, as a matter of fact, check this out. Here's my dialogue. Let's look at this for a minute. Hold. So you saw that, all right? Okay, Canelo, I'm coming to 168 pounds, but if you step out of line, you're gonna be KO number 12. You're gonna be KO number 2 if you step out of line. So yeah, I can't wait to see that fight, man. That's gonna be a great fight. Because I want to see how Buddy's gonna look at 168. I mean, man, I mean, yeah. Uh, but again, we might be jumping the gun because it's conceivable that Canelo could lose against Jamel Charlo. Okay, it's definitely possible that that could happen, and then I guess they would have a rematch. So that if that happens, we're not going to see that Canelo fight. If Jamel Charlo wins, we're not going to see Canelo spend Canelo Crawford. We're going to see Canelo. We're going to see Jamel Charlo versus Crawford. But who knows? Uh, Charlo might just drop the belt and move back down to 154 just to get away from Crawford again. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, right? How did this fight get made between Canelo and Jamel? I mean, I know Jamel been wanting that fight for years. You know, well, not just Jamel. Everybody in PBC want that fight. But I'm just thinking, how did it actually get made now? It just seems so convenient to happen right now when Crawford is calling this guy out and saying he's coming to 154 to face him. All of a sudden, boom, he's gone. He's going to 168 to fight Canelo. Left his mandatory. That's why he's going to get stripped because he left his mandatory to the side and decided to move up and fight Canelo. Now, just when Crawford is getting ready to go to 100, so it looks to me like there's some strategy, some strategic moves going on. You know, I mean, can you imagine if Jamel Charlo moved up because they didn't, they figured PBC probably said, look, man, go up and fight Canelo, and that way, it's a win-win for you. If you lose, nobody expects you to win, and if you win, you got everything, and that way, you can avoid Crawford because if Crawford gets you, it might be all over with. So it's better if you, rather than lose against Crawford, it's better if you lose against Canelo. It looks better on your record if you lose against Canelo than if you lose against Crawford. So move up and take the fight with Canelo, and that way you can avoid Crawford. And if Crawford want to fight, you just tell him he got to come to 168. And we know that Crawford ain't coming to 168 because he already said that they have weight class for a reason. He said he's not going to 168. So you're gonna be safe up there. You don't gotta worry about Crawford. Just go to 168 and stay there, and you're good to go. Win or lose, you stay up there. So how do we know that might have been the plan? Because the last time they asked Jamel about the fight. He said, "Oh well, we can meet where I'm at, or if we're still fighting, together, then we can make the fight happen," and all kind of, you know, bogus moves. So that's why I'm suspecting that that could have been a premeditated plan to move him away from 154, so he doesn't lose all those belts to Crawford, like Spence lost all those belts to Crawford. They probably didn't want to see that, but who knows? I mean, I'm just speculating. At the end of the day, it's in the interest of PBC to work with Crawford now because he's the best thing out there right now. Even he's got even more you know popularity. He's getting more than even Canelo right now. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but everybody's talking about Bud. Everybody's talking about Bud. So it's in PBC's interest to keep him over there at PBC and let him get what he wants, offer him some stuff that he can that he'd stay there and fight with them. Because we already know that you know Spence and he's not the guy anymore. Okay, and there's question about whether or not he's ever going to be the guy. So a lot of stuff going on. So we'll see how everything all plays out. This choice of Jamel is an admission of blatant act of ducking from Canelo. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, if you're moving up to unify, then typically that can't be seen as a duck. But I don't put it past any of these guys. With what we saw, leading up to the Crawford Spence fight, with all the narrative that's been spinning and all the stuff that's been going on, so it doesn't really surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that was the case. If they actually took the Canelo fight to duck Crawford at 154 pounds. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Derek James don't really have nothing. He doesn't know how to train. He doesn't know how to train his fighter to fight a guy like Bud. He just doesn't know how to do it. Bud is just a different guy, and they have nothing over there. Regardless of what Derek James is saying, there's nothing there. Uh, you know, in terms of them trying to take on and beat a guy like Crawford. It's just not going to happen. I mean, Spence could probably look better in the next fight. Who knows? But I don't know. I just see it could be worse the next time. Okay, he can get knocked out in the first or the second round, third round. Because when I called this fight, I called that. I said that the fight if the fight get past if it got past the first round, that it would end between the fourth and the seventh, probably around the seventh round. That was my prediction. It would be that Crawford would knock him out around the seventh round. But as we all saw, that's if it went past the first round, because there was a possibility that could have happened in the first round or second round. But we saw that it almost happened in the second round, and Spence was saved by the bell. So, my I didn't think he was going to go past the seventh, but as we saw, he did go past the seventh. He went to the ninth round. You know, so it is what it is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone will look better. Yeah, you're right about that. Here today, it's going to be hard to beat his last performance in terms of looking bad. I think that would be very difficult to do. So by default, he got to look better than that. I agree with you on that one. It's going to be tough to look worse than that, worse than that. But it could if you get knocked out earlier. You get knocked out in the second or third round or fourth round, then it'd be a lot worse. And that'll be probably be the end of Spencer's career. But yeah, I don't know if that fight's actually going to happen. I wouldn't put money on it. You might be right about that. Yeah, that makes sense. Because now you know they can't they can't operate under any delusions, because he's been in there with Crawford and he knows what it's all about. So whatever Derek James is telling him or gassing him up or telling him this, that corporate record ain't nothing, he ain't fought nobody and all that. I don't know if he was saying that just to give Spence some, help Spence out mentally for the fight and make him think that he had it, but uh, I don't know. But I think you're right about that. He's gonna be more respectful of Crawford, without a doubt. I would think. All this talk about breaking him, I don't think he's gonna come back with that same mentality. It's gonna be they have to actually have a plan this time around, besides just breaking Crawford. So we'll see how that all plays out. You know, but just because he's more defensive, that doesn't mean that it's gonna end it differently. I mean, it might, like I said, it could still end earlier. Crawford, you know, I'm pretty sure his confidence is high. I'm pretty sure he knows exactly what he needs to do now against Spence. I'm pretty sure he's watching the fight. He probably watched that fight about 100 times already, and they're already plotting and planning for the next meeting with Spence. But we'll have to see. Now, if Spence takes a tune-up fight, which it doesn't look like he would do if the fight's going to be in December, then we'll get to see what Spence looks like before Crawford, and Crawford will get an idea of what Spence is going to come with next. But that might not happen. So, might not be any tune-up fight. But then again, it might be. Maybe Spence might fight Thurman. I mean, this is what, September. This is August, September, October, November, December. So, based on the way these guys are fighting nowadays, you know, if that was back in the old days, that would be like 4 fights between now and December. But based on the way these guys are fighting, uh, I don't really see him fighting a tune-up fight with Spence in between now and December, and then fighting Crawford in December. I don't see it happening. So the only way that would happen is if they postpone the fight from December. And we did hear Espinosa say that the fight is probably going to be pushed back to 2024 sometime. First he said early, then he said mid, somewhere around there. So even though Spence might have activated the rematch, I don't think the fight is going to be in December. If he did activate it, I don't think the fight is going to happen in December. It's too soon. And I think they really want to give Crawford, they really want to give Spence a tune-up fight before he fights Crawford this time again. So that he's probably going to fight Thurman next. Even though I've been hearing them people out there trying to get Thurman to get the fight with Thurman and Crawford. I mean, why would people even want to see that fight? For what? I mean, Thurman almost got beat by Barrios, a guy that was knocked out by a tank, a lightweight. Okay, so I don't really see what people are talking about. Thurman. Thurman is irrelevant. His days are done. I don't really see. He has nothing to offer Crawford. Nothing in terms of even a good fight. If you were to fight Thurman, I think that Thurman would be done by the fourth round. Okay, and nothing would save him. I don't really see that as a fight. It's a waste of time. The same goes for Boots. Just more waste of time. These guys are not ready yet. Thurman was ready at one time, but he's one time, he's sometime, and now it's no time. So I don't really. If they make the Spence, if they make the Crawford Thurman fight, that would be a disaster. I would think. I wouldn't. I wouldn't pay to see it. At the end of the day, they need to make Thurman and Spence, or Thurman and Boots, or what, because those guys are on the same level. Crawford is on a whole different level than these guys. We already see that. I know that now. Okay, all the Danny Garcias, the Ugases, the the Porters, all these guys, they're on a level or two or three level below where Crawford is at. Okay, so these guys, they need to fight amongst themselves. Okay, and don't worry about Crawford, because none of them got anything for Crawford, and none of them are gonna make a big money fight for Crawford. Okay, the only big money fight for Crawford right now is Jamel or Canelo. That's the fight he needs to be looking forward to. Yeah, I feel you. I feel that, but again, I don't think that will be much of a fight. Just imagine. I'm pretty sure you saw the Derek James. I mean, Derek James. You got me talking about Derek James. I'm pretty sure you saw the Mario Barrios uh, Keith Thurman fight. I mean, come on. Barrios was what, 140 pounder, right? Actually, a lightweight that's 140 pounds or something like that. I mean, and he gave Thurman couldn't even knock him out. What, Mr. One Time, he couldn't even knock him out. Okay, Tank knocked him out, and Thurman couldn't do it. And Tank is a lightweight, and Thurman is a welterweight. So we don't need to see no Thurman against Crawford. We don't need to see no Boots against Crawford. These guys, we don't need to see no Tank against Crawford. Those guys need to fight each other. Okay, Thurman should fight either Boots, Spence, or Tank next. Okay, that's what you need to. That's one of the fights you need to make. Okay, but I don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he could take any of those guys I just mentioned, Tank, Boots, or Spence. So you know, at this point, as far as I'm concerned, Thurman is washed up. Okay, he's desperately trying to get a bone right now, but he got nobody to blame but himself because at the end of the day, he could have been fought uh, either Spence or Crawford, but he played the game and never took any of these guys. Even after he claimed that Mayweather was ducking him, don't duck me, son, and all that, and then he became the biggest ducker in the business. I mean, it's ridiculous. Now now that he's broke, and I have nothing going on, he's out there shucking and jiving, talking about you give him Crawford. Give me Crawford for what? I would give Boots the fight before I give it to Thurman. You know what I'm saying? If Crawford's gonna fight Thurman, he might as well fight Boots. Boots deserve a shot more than Thurman do. You know what I'm saying? So I don't, I don't know what the hell people are thinking about Thurman. People talk about it's gonna be a money fight. I don't buy that. Thurman ain't did nothing in 3 years. Who's gonna pay to see Thurman now? All that uh, paper view swag he had a couple of years ago, and which wasn't any much because the only reason we made so much paper because he fought Manny Pacquiao. So so he got the a big some big numbers for that fight with Pacquiao. But besides that, you know, uh, these guys, I mean, so I don't really see. I don't want to see Keith versus Tank. All I would make Keith do some insane catchweight rehydration clause to make sure Tank David. I don't think so. I don't think why would they need to do that? I don't think they need to do that. I think the Tank. I think Davis would knock Thurman out. You don't need to get. He don't need to fight Thurman at no catchweight. He would just knock Thurman spark out. Remember, man, he knocked out Barrios. Barrios is the same size as Thurman, and Thurman is not much better than Barrios. Okay, we saw that in the fight with Barrios and Thurman. So I think the fight between Thurman and Tank, Mr. Glass Shield, or should I say Javante Glass Shield Davis. I think Glass Shield would knock out Thurman. That's what I think. It would be a knockout. You knock Thurman out, clean out. You spark Thurman out. No doubt about it. I don't see. I actually, I would bet on that. I would bet if there was a fight, I would bet Tank by knockout. So I don't really see who Thurman is going to fight next. It's not like he's in the beginning of his career. He's at the end of his career, and he screwed his career up so bad that not much people want to see him. And I mean, people still but they're living in the past. They're thinking about Thurman when he was back in the day. They're not. They don't. If they was to think about the way Thurman actually is now, even when I saw him training in the gym, he looked soft. So I mean, Thurman is done. No, Keith would just be a keep busy fight for Bud. Well, if you're gonna fight a keep busy fight, then fight Boots. What the hell you fighting? What the hell you fighting Thurman for? When a, if if you want to keep busy fight, you know, fight fight Boots. If you want to keep busy, that's a better fight than fighting Thurman. And from a money standpoint, I don't think it's gonna be much different, because like maybe a couple of years ago, Thurman had some kind of pull drawing power, but nobody really know about Thurman now. As far as they're concerned, Thurman is like retired, so I don't really see. I'm not. I'm not. Enthusiastic about Thurman spent. I just it's no competition, bro. It's just no competition. It's a waste of time. Thurman wouldn't last 4 rounds, I don't think. Regardless of all the stuff he's talking, one of those body shots and it's over. One of those body shots and it's over. He'll double over and fall out and fall out. Do you think? Do you think that uh, Crawford, not Crawford, Thurman could put up the kind of fight that we saw Spence did? Even though Spence was getting his ass kicked the whole time, and even though he was losing terribly, he was still fighting back and actually really fighting back. Actually, throwing punches and getting up and continuing to fight, not even thinking about stopping. I don't. Do you think that Thurman could do that? Hell no. If that was Thurman in there against Crawford, that fight would have ended in the second round, bro. So I have no faith in that fight. I don't even want to see it. To me, just a waste of time. If you're gonna fight anybody, just fight Boots and get it over with. And forget about Thurman. Thurman don't deserve to fight. Boots deserves it more than he does. Well, it's not that I'm a true tank believer. Not really. But I just don't have much. I just don't think much about Thurman. That's what it comes down to. Well, of course, I would rather see Bud versus Booth, but not mad at Bud passing on Booth for some light. See, that's the difference between what I think and what you think. Here to there. To me, Booth is just light work. Why pass Booth for light work when Booth is light work? You know what I'm saying? So I don't really see Booth as anything, you know, uh, light runtime work. Booth is just. I don't think Booth does much better than runtime against Crawford. I just don't see Booth as a fighter that people say he is. I don't see that. I see a guy out there doing a lot of fancy schmancy moves against nobodies. You can't do that against real fighters. And we saw that when he got in there against Karen. And Karen ain't no damn Crawford, but he knew how to move in the ring. He was in good condition, and he did his thing on there against Boots. Even though you could say he lost all the rounds or not, whatever. But to me, I know what I'm looking at when I see a fighter, and I saw a superior fighter in Karen against a Boots. That's what I saw. The only problem with Karen was that he had no power whatsoever, none. So he couldn't even hurt Boots. And even with all of that, Boots still couldn't stop him. He had no power at all, and he kept tagging Boots multiple times. Had Boots spinning around, doing 160-degree turns. He tried all that fancy stuff he usually try in other fights, and he couldn't make it successful against a guy like Karen. So to talk about him being there with Crawford, I mean, people must be insane. But Crawford would kill that boy in that ring. So I don't really see Boots as any threat whatsoever. So I don't think Crawford sees him as a threat either. I think Crawford don't want to fight him because there's no money in it. And at this point, you don't raise your profile to the where it is now to go backwards to go and fight a guy like Boots, who you're gonna knock out anyway, and nobody's gonna give you any credit for it. They talking all that nonsense now. Oh yeah, Boots, but as soon as you knock him out, they're gonna say, oh well, the Boots wasn't ready anyway. Okay, So why waste your time? Just go ahead and move up and fight Canelo or Jamel Charlo. That's where you're gonna get your, your legacy, and that's where you're gonna, get your credit when you beat those guys. Nobody's gonna give Crawford credit for beating Boots. Boots ain't did nothing at welterweight. He ain't fought nobody. The very thing they talk about with Spence, I mean, with Crawford not fighting anybody, you don't have a resume. That's the same. You gonna say something about Boots, but in this case, it actually be true. So I don't really see Boots as no threat whatsoever. I think Crawford should just take his ass out there and drown him in the deep water and leave it at that. But I don't think he's gonna fight Boots because, like I said, there's no money in it for him, and he know he could beat Boots anyway, so he's not tripping about that. So it's only people out there, the casuals out there, tripping about that. The same people that was, trying to, say that Spence was gonna do this and do that. They're the same people on the Boots bandwagon now, and just the way they thought about Spence is the way they're thinking about Boots. And just as wrong as they were about Spence, they're even more wrong about Boots. They just people. These people never learn. you know, oh, we see Boots. He's it. He's the man. Oh yeah, Boots, man. He's the real dick, man. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. That's the same thing about Spence. Okay, I don't see nothing that's until I see Boots actually fight somebody. I can't give him any kudos anyway. None at all. He got to fight somebody first. Okay, and the last fight I saw him with Karen, and then after they gave him via they gave him a tree to fight that couldn't move. So he looked good like he always do against people that can't do anything. This is what he did against all his other fights. I mean, Boots, come on, man. People got to get serious. But anyway, I think I'm going to leave it here to there. Let me see what you got there. Bud has consistently sought out the top. I think you're trying to say top fight, so he has credit in the bank with me. But he's the closest thing to beyond reproach. Bud, Usyk, in a way, they have gone after everyone. Yeah, you're right about that. Uh, you're right. As a matter of fact, when I was giving my prediction about this fight with Crawford and Spence, I said that the fight was going to be exactly the same way. Uh, you should go and check that out if you didn't see that video already. It's called "Fear of the Walking Bud." So yeah, now it has Derek James on it, the cover on Crawford. But yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah, I don't think Bud ain't afraid of anybody in there. I don't think he has any problem with because, like I said, he already offered to fight the Boots and they turned it down. So I mean, they can talk all they want now, but they already turned the fight down once already. So it is what it is. I don't really see. Again, I'm gonna say this to you, bro. I don't see any more risk. Let me put this up on the screen. Agreed. No money in Boots fight. Much more risk than kidding. I don't think so. This is what I'm saying to you, and I want you to I want you to understand this. I don't see that. I think I don't see that Boots is more risk than Keith or Errol. I think they all those guys, Boots, Keith, Errol, they are on the same level. Okay, Crawford is above that level. He's somewhere up here looking down at these guys. Okay, those guys need to fight each other and forget about Bud. Okay, he's not on their level. Keith, Errol, Boots, they are in the same pool. They're swimming in the same pool. Okay, they need to just keep doing that. Okay, and forget about Bud. Bud is on, and he's out in the ocean somewhere, swimming with the sharks and the whales and the big fishes. He already caught a big fish. Okay, so that's where he is. So these guys, they just need to fight each other. They need to make a fight between Errol and Boots next if he got to prepare him for Crawford, or him and Keith to prepare him for Crawford, or whatever. But those guys need to fight each other. But with that said, here and there, I'm gonna leave it here or leave it there. I usually, so I'm gonna sign off here. I've been on. It's like what 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been on for like 2.5 hours now. So I'm gonna leave it here for now. I'll see you all guys on the next one. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. So let's see. Is there anything else we want to cover before I go? If you got a question? All right. We'll catch you on the next one here to there. Peace out. Okay, people. This is TBE Boxing saying I'm out.
Got the money for minutes, petty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.